with that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
First, we're hearing from S-Beam. What a release schedule. 4 of them are set for theatrical release. Black Widow, Shang Chi, Doctor Strange, and Thor: Love and Thunder. Which of the 4 are you most anticipating? It's a toss-up for me with Doctor Strange 2 and Shang Chi. I can't wait to see what they do with the Ten Ring stuff, and they've teased us in the previous movies. John, of those, what do you think is the most interesting? What are you pumped about?
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. The panel at Comic-Con was so packed. I mean, absolutely so packed. You're looking at, first of all, was it 4 or was it 5 movies? So you got Black Widow, you got Shang-Chi.
Eternals.
You got Eternals, Multiverse of Thor. So there's actually 5 movies there. And you've got 5 series coming to Disney+. There was a lot of stuff there to unpack. So I'll tell you what. Instead of just telling you which one of the things, let me give you my top 3 things that came out of this Marvel panel. And then I'm going to tell you the one thing that stands out to me as the worst thing that comes out of the Marvel panel, all right? And I'm going to ask each of you guys as well to give me your top 3 and your one worst thing that came out of the panel. For me, the best thing to come out of this panel, and I'm not going to go into detail on it because we're going to talk about it a little bit more in just a bit on the show here. But by a mile, to me, the best announcement at the Marvel panel this year was Mahershala Ali as Blade. That to me, by a mile. And we'll go more into that in just a little bit. My second favorite thing that came out of this panel was the fact that, much like Hulk was the main supporting character in Thor Ragnarok, Scarlet Witch is going to be the main backup character in Doctor Strange. To that, I can't think, other than maybe, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I can't think of a more logical, perfect fit matchup for a movie than Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, particularly with Doctor Strange. To me, that's just the perfect character to put with him. So I'd say my number 1 best thing that came out of this announcement was the Mahershala Ali as Blade. My number 2 favorite thing that came out of this announcement was Scarlet Witch going to be a part of the Doctor Strange 2. My third favorite thing that came out of this whole announcement was really more of a conceptual thing, and that is this, that all the Disney Plus series, none of them are prequels. They all happen post-Endgame. And Kevin Feige kind of went into detail about that, WandaVision, what happens after. And now apparently there's some 50 stuff in there too, but apparently there's going to be a bunch of it. There's that. The Loki series happens. What happens after Loki gets away in Endgame? That's what the Loki series is going to take it. Falcon and Winter Soldier happens post-Endgame. And so that was exciting to me. So my 3 favorite things here, Rob, were number 1, the Blade announcement, number 2, the Doctor Strange announcement with Scarlet Witch, and number 3, the fact that so much of these Disney Plus stuff is going to happen post-Endgame, not a lot of prequel stuff in there, which I really liked hearing. I'm going to tell you, though, and again, I won't go into detail on this because we're going to talk about it a little more later. To me, the absolute worst thing that came out of this panel was the Thor announcement that Jane is going to be the new Thor. And again, I'm not going to go into detail on that because we'll talk about it more a little bit later, but that's my worst thing on here. Rob, there was a lot of stuff that came out in this panel, tons of it. Just get it down now to your top 3 announcements that came out of that panel.
Well, first of all, number 1, my boy Tony Leung is playing the Mandarin.
From Infernal Affairs.
First of all, Tony Leung, and I wrote this, I put hashtag in the mood for Hard Boiled because he stars in Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love, and he's in John Woo's Hard Boiled. I love Tony Leung. I want to be Tony Leung. I've loved Tony Leung for 2 decades and more. He can do no wrong. I mean, I have a man crush on Tony Leung, and I'm not gay, but I love Tony Leung. And when they announced him as the Mandarin, first of all, I was not in the panel. I was with my friend Chuck, and his brother Horace was in the panel, and he was texting us in real time when all of these announcements were made. And I literally jumped up and squealed like a little girl. Not that that's squealing like a girl is bad, but when a middle-aged dude does it over the balcony, over the back of the Marriott and the whole Bay Area out there, I literally was squealing with delight. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, Tony Leung is playing the Mandarin. Anyway, I don't want to belabor that point. The second thing I loved was the fact that they're making a Doctor Strange movie called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's going to be the first horror film in the MCU, really. I mean, they're embracing its horror elements, and then, of course, we've got Blade coming, but this, I couldn't help but think John Schnepp would have loved this more than anybody in the world. They're embracing the crazy Steve Ditko. We saw a little bit of that with Dormammu in the first Doctor Strange movie. I can't. They've so dialed in what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be, and that's my third thing that I loved about all of this, is that they already proved themselves. They've already had the Infinity Saga. They made Endgame. Now they have to they have to take some left turns and do some different things so it's not just the same. And they're going to go crazy. They're going to give us a bunch of movies that, to me, they're going after the fun. They're going after they're embracing the comic book nature of the MCU. They're going big, they're going large, they're going gigantic in terms of their comic book scope, as evidenced by the Doctor Strange movie. And then it's not Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. It's Shang-Chi and what is it, The Mystery of the Ten Rings or something?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, if that isn't a comic book title, it's just look, I love the Doug Moench, Paul Gulacy run on Shang-Chi. I can't wait to see this movie. The fact that they're doing Shang-Chi, so they're just, my third thing is that they're embracing their comic book roots more than ever before, and I am deliriously excited about these movies. I think they're and the streaming shows. It's so great because the pressure is sort of off of them, and now they can go a little nutty, like they can go a little wackadoo, and I think that's what they needed to do. That we have their earnest Infinity Saga. Now let's go crazy. Let's get nuts, just like Prince said. Punch a higher floor.
So what would you say is the worst thing that came out of this panel?
Nothing.
Oh,
it's all great. There is
on.
nothing bad.
That's BS. That is BS. Look, out of all the stuff that's out there, something's got to be at the bottom of your list. What would be at the bottom of your list? I'm not letting you get off the hook on this. What's at the bottom of your list?
I felt, okay, if you want to make me say something, and I won't just say the end of the panel, because that sucked when it was over, I think the only thing that I wanted to see some kind of they did. They announced they're doing something with X-Men. No, there was nothing bad about this panel. I loved everything. I felt like I was being played like a fiddle, and I was watching it. Look, I love the fact that they're going to make Jane the new female Thor. That's right out of the comic books. That goes to them making.
We'll go into that later.
But that's them going crazy. It's like you thought that you thought that we've been making interesting comic book movies. You ain't seen nothing yet. We're going full on. And look, if anything, and that you said they're putting Scarlet Witch is finally going to. She hasn't been Scarlet Witch yet. They haven't called her Scarlet Witch. They're going to call her Scarlet Witch in the multiverse of madness, because why not? And
are they though? Because even the name of her series doesn't have witch in the title of the series.
I know, but they said that WandaVision goes right into the movie.
Yes, it flows right from WandaVision right into Doctor
Strange. By the end of
2.
WandaVision, she's gonna be Scarlet Witch, and a witch and a sorcerer are gonna team up because it's the multiverse of madness.
Right. Well, first of all, I effing hate the title, and I hate multiverse nonsense. But we'll get into that more in a second.
It's so good.
I want to go over to Chris right now. Chris, you read all these things about everything that's going on. If you had to rank your top 3 most excited things that you heard coming out of this panel, what are those top 3?
I mean, definitely far and away the best thing I think is Blade. And we're going to talk about that soon. I'm so excited about it. I'm loving the whole 10 Rings thing. I'm so excited because that's been such a slow burn, and we're finally going to see all of that. And my girl Awkwafina's in it, and I'm so excited because I love her. And then I think lastly, it's Doctor Strange, definitely. Y'all know I don't like horror movies, and I'm so excited to see a horror movie. I'm excited for this to be crazy. It's like, for years we've been talking about how insane it is that there's a talking raccoon in a movie, and Marvel went, hold my beer. We're going to amp all this up, and it's going to get nuts, and I'm so pumped.
If there was anything that didn't quite thrill you about the panel, what would that be?
This is such a stretch, but if I see one more GD article about David Harbour's Stranger Things connection to his new MC role, I will drink bleach. Like, I'm so over it. His name is Alexei. He's a Russian guy. Oh my God. Am I connected to every human being named Chris? Do I have a special connection to the MCU because of the, Chris's in there? No. Get over yourselves, internet.
Thank you. You know what? Yes, I hate that.
So
the op-ed piece. You know what I hated? Here you go, John. I hate all the stupid commentary I've had to read on the internet after this panel.
Yes.
That's what I've hated.
I'll tell you what. There are a number of things I didn't like. about the panel. I gave you my top one. There are a number of things I didn't like. I'll be honest with you. And I think part of this, full admittedly, is because I've been spoiled by previous Marvel events like this. And I think, like, if almost any other studio had done this panel, I would have gone, wow. But I think because I've been spoiled so much by the Marvel goodness that I look at it and go, it was all right. I mean, there were certainly things like I've just listed. Certainly things I was very excited about coming out of this panel. There were a number of things that kind of turned me off and make me quite worried. Obviously, the Jane thing, we'll get to that in just a little bit. I think time travel and multiverse stuff is the bottom of the barrel, lazy man's, no creativity. We can't think of a way to make our story make sense, so just say it's multiverse and we can do whatever we want. I think that's lazy and dumb. But I am still super excited for Doctor Strange 2 because you're going to have Scarlet Witch in there, and her and Doctor Strange together is going to be amazing. There was that. There's a few other things. And, oh, by the way, I wasn't thrilled to hear that Falcon is indeed going to take on the Captain America mantle, which I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the case. And I was really hoping the fact that it's called Falcon and Winter Soldier, that they were going to go that, but he's just confirmed that he's already started getting his fittings for his version of the Captain America outfit. I don't like it when one character becomes this other character. I don't really like that, but we'll get into that in just a bit. So overall, I thought it was a solid panel, but I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. And I don't like the Thor Love and Thunder title, but who cares? That's just
oh my God, that title's great.
It's stupid.
It's pretty bad.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you know what I say about titles. If it's a terrible title, it won't make the movie any less good. If it's a great title, it won't make the movie any better. But I did say this, and this got some of my fellow MCU fans a little pissed off at me, and I don't care. But I watched this panel, and I thought, it's all right. It's got some really good highlights, a couple of lowlights for me. But I saw the reaction from everybody. It's like, this is the greatest thing ever. But, something I pointed out on open mic yesterday, guys, was this. When you're talking about fandom groups, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Star Wars fans, Marvel fans, Harry Potter fans, DCEU fans, whatever. I feel like we become invested in automatically proclaiming any news that comes out about the subject of our fandom as the greatest thing ever. Star Wars fans do it with Star Wars. Harry Potter fans do it with Harry Potter, whatever. And I made this point and I stand by it. If Kevin Feige had come out on this panel, at the beginning of this panel, and just said, "Behold, I am Kevin Feige," and then he reached down, took off his shoes and his socks, and just said, "Look at my foot! Behold the foot of Kevin Feige! Kneel before the foot of Kevin Feige!" and just said that for 90 minutes, the internet with the MCU fans just would have blown up going, "This is the best thing ever! Oh my God, look at that foot!" That's what MCU fans would have done. It's also what your fandom would have done. It's what Star Wars fans. I used to joke around that for new Star Wars trailers, George Lucas could get on screen and spend 2 minutes and 30 seconds shaving his balls with an electric razor. And so, yeah, how do you like that? And Star Wars fans would be going, "This is the greatest thing ever." And I just kind of got a little bit of a sense of that because I really, by Marvel standards, I honestly didn't think the panel was all that great.
Hang on a second, though. Let's back up. They announced 10 properties
that we all knew already. That we already knew.
But hang on. With their creative teams,
yes, which is
with
great.
Their release dates, you're seeing a commitment by them of between 1.5 and $2 billion of production money.
That I already knew.
But you might have already known it. But the fact that they've committed to this in a 2-year period of time, and all of this is in continuity, and all of this, what this shows to me is incredible planning and coordination between 10 different creative teams of people and a studio that knows exactly what's going on. We've never seen this kind of creative coordination in a franchise property ever.
No,
and in terms of,
I already knew that.
But to see it,
but it's again, like if you're going to ask me, am I excited about what Marvel is doing, and am I amazed by what they are pulling off? The answer to that is an unequivocal.
So
yes,
are you saying that you're jaded because you're continuing to watch something unprecedented and never happening before in the history of cinema?
No, I'm
but you're
saying
like,
as a panel, I'm just talking about the panel. The topic isn't how do I feel about the MCU, because when I went to the Phase 3 announcement panel, there was so much stuff there that was out of the ordinary and unexpected and whatever, and it just left us all walking out going, holy crap, because we didn't know half the stuff that they brought to us. What I'm saying is, as a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, basically 85% of what they covered and talked about is stuff we already knew. Now, I fully admit, I said this off the top, I am partially spoiled. And if this was an announcement by any other studio, I'd be going, wow, they really upped their game. That was great. And I think I'm acknowledging here that I am partially spoiled by how just knocking it out of the park with these presentations go. But as far as a panel goes, just the panel, most of the stuff I already knew. A couple of things that they introduced I wasn't aware of, like the Blade thing, blown away by. A couple of things that I didn't know, I'm a little bit turned off by. So at the end of the day, as far as the panel goes, I'm just like, okay, but I don't feel like I learned anything. Other than a few little details, I didn't really learn anything, and it's just, okay. So as a panel, it was solid, it was okay, but otherwise, all the positive things you can list about it were things we already knew. But
if you're talking about panels, how often in the history of Comic-Con did anybody bring that many creative people? Even when they've announced the Avengers, the amount of stars that they got, the fact that they brought Natalie Portman back to play Jane, who we thought was gone from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
By the way, I think is a negative.
I think that's a negative. They brought an Oscar winner, coming off of his Oscar win to come be Blade. I mean, it was, as far as Comic-Con panels go, I've been going for 31 years, and this was easily in the top echelons, probably the top 2 panels that have ever been done ever at Comic-Con.
And I think Tom Cruise coming out as a surprise and announcing a Top Gun trailer beat it. I think that beat it. I thought that was, as a one-time thing, I thought that beat it. But again, I am admitting I have been spoiled by how Marvel has done these things historically, and that throws my perspective off. And I'm admitting that completely. I admit that. But I also have to be honest that I'd love to come on here today and be like all my other fellow MCU fans and go, this is the greatest thing ever, which I do sometimes with Marvel things. But I got to be honest, I didn't feel that with this panel. I didn't feel that this time. If it was anybody else, but with Marvel, I hold them to a different standard because they've set that bar, But anyway, ultimately, listen, guys, clearly most of you guys will agree with Rob on this. Clearly most of you will, and I already know that, and I'm comfortable with that. But what did you think about the panel overall? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.